Parents drained $35,000 from my card for my sister's Aspen weekend. Dad said, "You'll earn it back." Mom laughed. I just nodded. 3 days later, I sold the house they lived in. I'm Sarah, 28, and I've been the family ATM for as long as I can remember. My younger sister Emma, 22, has always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, the one whose dreams mattered more than mine, the one who deserved everything handed to her on a silver platter. Let me paint you a picture of how messed up my family dynamics were. I started working at 14, babysitting neighborhood kids to save for college. Emma spent her teenage years shopping and posting Instagram photos. I graduated valedictorian and earned a full scholarship to engineering school. Emma barely scraped through high school and chose an expensive art degree that my parents happily funded. I worked 2 jobs through college and graduated debt-free with a chemical engineering degree. Emma dropped out after her sophomore year to find herself in Europe for 6 months on my parents' dime. After college, I landed a great job at a pharmaceutical company and moved back to my hometown of Denver. Within 3 years, I was making 6 figures and had saved up a decent nest egg. Emma, meanwhile, was living at home, working part-time at a boutique, and spending her evenings creating TikTok videos about her aesthetic lifestyle. Here's where it gets interesting, and where I made what I now realize was either the smartest or most dangerous decision of my life. 2 years ago, my parents were facing foreclosure on their house. Dad had been forced into early retirement after his company downsized, and they were living on his small pension and Mom's part-time job at the local library. Mom had also racked up credit card debt trying to keep up appearances in our upper-middle-class neighborhood. They came to me in tears, begging for help. The house they'd raised us in, the house filled with memories, they couldn't bear to lose it. I was torn. On one hand, I loved that house too. On the other hand, I'd watched them prioritize Emma's wants over my needs my entire life. But family is family, right? So I did something that seemed generous at the time but was actually the most calculated move I've ever made. I bought their house. Not helped them save it, bought it outright. I paid off their mortgage and put the deed in my name. I told them they could live there rent-free as long as they needed, that I just wanted to keep it in the family. They cried with gratitude. Dad hugged me and said I was saving their lives. Mom called me her angel daughter. What they didn't realize was that I'd just gained the ultimate leverage. For 2 years, everything was relatively peaceful. I lived in my own condo across town, they lived in their house that I owned, and Emma continued her princess lifestyle. I helped out here and there, paid for car repairs, covered some medical bills, the usual stuff. I didn't mind because I could afford it, and it kept the peace. But Emma's demands kept escalating. First, it was a new MacBook for her creative work. Then it was a designer handbag because networking requires looking successful. Then it was a trip to Miami with her friends because she needed inspiration for her art. Each time, my parents would call me up with some sob story about how this thing was absolutely essential for Emma's future, how I was the only one who could help, how they'd pay me back somehow. I always said yes. Partially because I'm a people pleaser, partially because I could afford it, and partially because I was building a case. Every time I helped, I kept detailed records. Every conversation, every dollar amount, every promise to pay me back that never materialized. The final straw came 3 months ago. Emma announced she was going to Aspen for a long weekend with her college friends. Not just any trip, a luxury weekend at some 5-star resort with spa treatments, fine dining, and enough shopping to fund a small country. The estimated cost? $35,000. When she first mentioned it, I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Emma, that's insane. Nobody spends that much on a weekend trip. She got that pouty look she'd perfected since childhood. Sarah, you don't understand. This is important. These are influential people. Networking opportunities. I could make connections that changed my entire career. What career? I asked. You work part-time at the boutique and make TikToks. That's when my parents jumped in. Dad started his usual speech about how I didn't understand Emma's creative aspirations and how sometimes you have to invest in relationships. Mom chimed in about how I'd always been practical but Emma was special and needed different kinds of support. I told them absolutely not. $35,000 was outrageous for anyone, let alone someone with no real income or prospects for paying it back. 2 weeks later, I was at work when I got a fraud alert on my phone. $35,000 had been charged to my credit card. I immediately called my bank, thinking there had been some mistake or that my card had been stolen. The first charge had triggered their fraud protection system, but when they called a number on file to verify the charges, someone had confirmed they were legitimate. That someone, I realized with growing horror, had been my parents. Ma'am, we show that the cardholder verification was completed at 10:47 a.m. yesterday, the bank representative explained. The person who answered provided the correct security information and authorized the charges to continue. My parents had my security questions because I'd foolishly shared that information years ago when I helped them set up their own online banking. They'd used that access to override the fraud protection and allow Emma's spending spree to continue. Luxury resort in Aspen. High-end spa. Expensive restaurants. designer boutiques. All charges that perfectly matched Emma's planned itinerary. I hung up and called my parents immediately. "Oh, Sarah, honey," Mom said when she picked up, and I could hear the guilt in her voice already. "We were going to tell you." "Tell me what, exactly?" "Well, Emma really needed this trip, and you weren't being reasonable about it. So we figured out a way to help her. By using my credit card without my permission?" Dad took the phone. "Now Sarah, don't be dramatic. It's not like we stole from you. We're family. And you can afford it, you're always telling us how well you're doing at work." I was so shocked I could barely speak. "Dad, this is theft. You used my credit card without permission to fund Emma's vacation. Don't be ridiculous. We know your credit card information because you've used it to help us before. We just figured you'd want to help your sister, like you always do. And look, you'll earn it back. You make good money, you'll have this paid off in no time." That's when I heard Mom laughing in the background. Actually laughing. "Mom, are you laughing right now?" She took the phone back. "Oh, sweetie, you're being so dramatic. It's just money. You'll make more. Emma needed this opportunity, and you would have said no just to be difficult. We did what needed to be done." I was standing in my office, watching my coworkers go about their normal Tuesday, having no idea that my family had just committed credit card fraud against me and were laughing about it. "I want the money back," I said quietly. "Sarah, be reasonable," Dad said, taking the phone again. "Emma's already there. The money's already spent. You can't just undo a vacation. Look, we'll figure out a payment plan or something." "When?" "Well, Emma's looking for a new job, something that pays better. Once she gets settled, she can start paying you back. Maybe $100 a month or something." $100 a month? To pay back $35,000? That would take. I did the math in my head. Almost 30 years. "And what about you and Mom? Are you going to help pay this back?" There was a pause. "Sarah, you know our financial situation. We're still getting back on our feet. But Emma's young, she's got her whole career ahead of her. This trip could open doors for her. Think of it as an investment in your sister's future." "An investment? In Emma's future? Using my money? Without my consent?" "I'll call you back," I said and hung up. I sat in my office for the rest of the day, not getting any work done, just thinking. $35,000 wasn't going to bankrupt me, but it wasn't pocket change either. That was money I'd been saving for a down payment on a bigger house. Money I'd earned through years of hard work, sacrifice, and careful budgeting. But the amount wasn't really the point. The point was that they'd stolen from me and felt justified doing it. The point was that they were laughing about it. The point was that they'd expected me to just roll over and take it, like I always had. That night, I went to see my lawyer. Marcus has been my attorney since I bought my parents' house. He's a family friend, someone who's known our dynamics for years. When I explained what had happened, his face got very serious. "Sarah, this is credit card fraud. Your parents could face criminal charges." "I don't want to press charges," I said quickly. "I just want my money back." He leaned back in his chair. "You could sue them in civil court, but honestly, if they don't have assets, you'll never see that money." "What exactly do they own?" I smiled for the first time in 2 days. "Nothing. I own their house." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "The house you bought for them? The one they live in?" "The one I own and they live in rent-free, yes." He was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Sarah, you realize you could evict them, right? It's your property. You've been letting them live there out of generosity, but legally, they're tenants at will. I'd recommend giving them proper notice though, 30 days is standard." "How quickly could I sell it?" "The house? If it's in good condition and priced right, probably within 6 to 8 weeks. The Denver market is hot right now." "But Sarah, are you sure about this? This is your family." That's when I told him everything. Years of being treated like an ATM. Years of Emma's needs coming before mine. Years of being expected to fund their lifestyle while receiving nothing but demands in return. And now, outright theft followed by laughter. "They made their choice when they decided to steal from me," I said. "Now I'm making mine." Marcus nodded slowly. "All right. Here's what we can do." The next morning, I called my parents. "I want to talk to all of you together," I said. "I'm coming over tonight." When I arrived, Emma was back from Aspen, looking tanned and relaxed. She was showing Mom photos on her phone, pictures of her in designer clothes at expensive restaurants, posing at the spa, shopping in boutiques I couldn't afford even with my salary. "Sarah," she said when she saw me, jumping up to give me a hug like nothing had happened. "You should have seen Aspen, it was incredible. Thank you so much for making this possible. I met some amazing people. There's this gallery owner who might be interested in my work and this photographer who wants to collaborate. This trip could literally change my life." I looked at my parents, who were smiling proudly like they personally funded Emma's life-changing vacation. "We need to talk," I said. Dad gestured to the couch. "Of course, honey. Sit down. What's on your mind? I stayed standing. I want my $35,000 back. The room got very quiet. Emma's smile faded. Sarah, come on. I told you, this could lead to real opportunities. I don't care what it could lead to. You stole from me. We didn't steal, Mom said, getting defensive. We're family. Family helps each other. Family asks before spending each other's money. Family doesn't commit fraud. Dad stood up, using his authoritative voice. Sarah, you're overreacting. Yes, maybe we should have asked first, but you would have said no. Exactly. I would have said no. Because it's my money, and I get to decide how it's spent. You'll earn it back, he repeated, like that solved everything. When? Emma, when exactly are you planning to pay me back $35,000? Emma shifted uncomfortably. I'm looking for better work. Maybe once I get established. How much better work? What's your plan to pay back $35,000? Silence. What about you two? I asked my parents. Are you going to help pay back the money you stole? More silence. I see, I said. So you steal my money, spend it on Emma's luxury vacation, and have no plan whatsoever to pay it back. And you think that's acceptable because family helps each other? Mom's voice got sharp. Sarah, you're being selfish. You make good money, you live alone, you don't have kids to support. Emma needed this opportunity. Emma is a 22-year-old adult. If she needed this opportunity, she could have figured out how to pay for it herself. Not everyone is as lucky as you, Dad said. Not everyone has your advantages. That's when I lost it. Lucky? Advantages? I worked my ass off for everything I have. I worked through high school, worked through college, earned my degree, earned my job, earned my salary. Emma has spent her entire adult life being supported by other people while contributing nothing. She's an artist, Mom said. She's creative. Not everyone fits into your little box of what success looks like. Artists who want to take $35,000 vacations need to figure out how to fund them without stealing from their sisters. Emma started crying. Sarah, you're being so mean. I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd want to support my dreams. Your dreams of being a professional mooch? That's when Dad's voice got really stern. Sarah, that's enough. You're talking about your sister. I looked around the room, at my parents who thought they were entitled to my money, at my sister who thought her dreams justified theft, at the house I bought to save them from foreclosure. You're right, I said calmly. I am talking about my sister. My sister who has never worked a full-time job, never paid rent, never taken responsibility for herself. My sister whose dreams apparently require stealing from the one family member who's actually made something of herself. And I'm also talking about my parents, who think that because they raised me, they're entitled to my credit card forever. I paused, looking at each of them. I just nodded, I said quietly. What? Mom asked. When Dad said I'd earn it back and you laughed about stealing from me, I just nodded. I didn't argue, I didn't scream, I just nodded. Do you know why? They stared at me. Because I was already planning what I was going to do next. I pulled out the folder Marcus had prepared for me. This house is being sold. I've already spoken with a realtor. It'll be on the market tomorrow. The room exploded. What are you talking about? Dad demanded. You can't sell our house, Emma cried. It's not your house, I said calmly. It's my house. I bought it when you were facing foreclosure, remember? My name is on the deed. My money paid the mortgage. You've been living here rent-free for 2 years because I allowed it. Mom stood up, her face red. Sarah, you can't be serious. This is our home. And $35,000 was my money. But that didn't stop you from spending it. This is completely different, Dad said. Is it? You took something that belonged to me without permission. Now I'm taking something that belongs to me without your permission. Emma was full-on sobbing now. Sarah, please. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, Emma. Maybe ask the gallery owner you met in Aspen. Maybe ask the photographer who wants to collaborate. Maybe ask one of those amazing connections you made with my money. Marcus had prepared eviction notices, which I handed to my parents. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. The house will be listed for sale next week and should close within 6 to 8 weeks. Dad looked at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. Sarah, you can't do this to us. We're your family. You can't steal from me. I'm your family too. It's not the same thing. You're right, I said. It's not the same thing. What you did was illegal. What I'm doing is completely legal. I own this house. I can sell it whenever I want. Mom tried a different approach, her voice getting soft and manipulative. Honey, I know you're upset, but this is extreme. Can't we work something out? Maybe Emma can pay you back a little each month? Like the $100 a month Dad suggested? That would take 29 years, Mom. I'll be 57 years old when I get my money back. Well, maybe more than 100. How much more? Emma, how much can you realistically pay me back each month? Emma was still crying. I don't know. Maybe 200? $200 a month would take 14 and a half years. I'll be 42. The math was sinking in. They were realizing that their plan to just let me absorb the cost wasn't going to work. Sarah, Dad said, trying to sound reasonable, selling our house seems extreme. Surely there's another way to handle this. There is, I said. You could pay me back the $35,000 you stole. Silence. That's what I thought. We don't have $35,000, Mom said. You know we don't have that kind of money. Then you shouldn't have spent $35,000 of my money. Emma looked up from her crying. What if I get a better job? What if I promise to pay you back faster? Emma, what job are you going to get that pays enough to live on and pay me back hundreds of dollars a month? You don't have a degree, you don't have any real work experience, and you've never held a full-time job. I could work in sales, or marketing, or something. Could you? Have you ever applied for jobs like that? Have you ever even looked at what they require? She hadn't, of course. Sarah, please, Mom begged. Don't do this. We'll figure something out. You've had 2 days to figure something out. Instead, you laughed about it and told me I'd earn it back. So I figured something out. Dad tried one more time to take control of the situation. Sarah, you're not thinking clearly. You're making decisions based on anger. Why don't you take some time to cool off, and we can discuss this rationally? I am thinking clearly, I said. For the first time in years, I'm thinking clearly. You see, for my entire life, I've been subsidizing this family. I've been the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who pays for things. And in return, I've been taken for granted, taken advantage of, and finally stolen from. I gestured around the room. This house? I saved you from foreclosure with my money. Emma's car? I co-signed the loan and make half the payments. Her health insurance? I pay for it because she doesn't work enough hours to qualify for benefits. Mom's credit card debt from last year? I paid it off. Dad's investment in that stupid cryptocurrency? I covered your losses. They were all staring at me now, realizing that I'd been keeping track of everything. Over the past 5 years, I've given this family over $200,000 in direct support, loans that were never repaid, and bailouts from your bad decisions. And how did you repay me? By stealing $35,000 and laughing about it. Emma tried to interrupt. Sarah, we're grateful. No, you're not. If you were grateful, you would have asked before spending my money. If you were grateful, you would have had a plan to pay me back. If you were grateful, Mom wouldn't have laughed when Dad said I'd earn it back. I closed the folder. The house goes on the market tomorrow. It'll probably sell within a few weeks. After closing costs and realtor fees, I'll net about $400,000. $400,000? Dad's voice cracked. It's a nice house in a good neighborhood, and I've maintained it well. Denver real estate is hot right now. The room was dead silent as they processed this information. So let me get this straight, I continued. You stole $35,000 from me for Emma's vacation. Rather than pay me back, you expected me to just absorb the cost. Instead, I'm selling an asset that I own for $400,000. Seems like a pretty good return on investment. Emma was crying harder now. Sarah, this is our childhood home. All our memories are here. My memories too, Emma. But you know what? Those memories include watching you get everything handed to you while I worked for everything I have. They include watching my parents prioritize your wants over my needs for my entire life. They include being treated like a bank account instead of a daughter. That's not fair, Mom said. We love you. We're proud of you. You love what I can do for you. You're proud of how much money I make because it means you can take more of it. Dad was getting angry again. Sarah, you're talking like we're some kind of parasites. Aren't you? When's the last time any of you asked how I was doing without following it up with a request for money? When's the last time you offered to help me with something? When's the last time you treated me like a daughter instead of an ATM? No answer. That's what I thought. I headed toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and just so we're clear, the $35,000 you stole isn't forgiven just because I'm selling the house. You still owe me that money. The house sale is compensation for 20 years of being treated like a cash machine. Emma jumped up. Sarah, wait. We can fix this. We can change. I stopped and looked at her. Emma, you're 22 years old. If you were going to change, you would have done it by now. If you were going to take responsibility for yourself, you would have done it by now. If you were going to treat me like a sister instead of a piggy bank, you would have done it by now. But I can. I will. When? When you're 30. When you're 40. How many more years should I finance your finding yourself phase? She didn't have an answer. Good luck finding a place to live, I said, and left. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my phone has been ringing nonstop. First it was my parents, alternating between begging and threatening. Then it was Emma, sobbing about how I was ruining her life. Then it was extended family members who had heard Sarah's version of the story and wanted to hear their side. The story they're telling everyone, by the way, is that I'm evicting my parents over a small family disagreement and that I'm being vindictive and cruel. They're not mentioning the theft, of course. They're certainly not mentioning the $35,000 or the fact that they have no plan to pay it back. Some family members are buying their story. My aunt called yesterday to tell me I should be ashamed of myself for throwing my parents out on the street over money. My uncle sent me a long text about how families should stick together and forgive each other's mistakes. But my cousin Jake, who's always been the black sheep of the family for calling out at everyone's bullshit, sent me a different kind of message. I heard what they did. Good for you. It's about time someone held them accountable. The house officially went on the market this morning. My realtor thinks we'll have offers within the week, possibly multiple offers given the location and condition. I might actually get more than $400,000. My parents have been looking at apartments, but they're discovering what I've known for years: living costs money. The places they can afford are tiny, older, and in less desirable neighborhoods. Emma is panicking because most apartments require proof of income, and her part-time job at the boutique isn't impressive to landlords. What's been particularly satisfying is watching their reality slowly sink in. For years, they've lived in this bubble where money just appeared when they needed it, usually from me. Now they're discovering what the rest of us already know: everything costs more than you think, and nobody gives you anything for free. Mom called me yesterday morning, and for the first time in years, her voice didn't have that entitled edge to it. She sounded defeated. Sarah, we looked at 12 apartments yesterday. 12. Do you know what we can afford with Dad's pension and my part-time job at the library? I waited. 700 square feet. 1 bathroom. No dishwasher, no washer and dryer, no garage. And the landlord wants us to prove we make 3 times the rent in monthly income. 3 times. We barely make twice the rent. That's pretty standard, Mom. But how are people supposed to find places to live? It's impossible. Most people plan for these things. They save money, they have steady jobs, they build credit history. We had a house. We didn't need to worry about any of this. You had a house that I bought for you after you nearly lost it to foreclosure. And Dad has his pension, plus you've been working part-time at the library for 3 years now. You have income. There was a long pause. Sarah, what if we can't find anywhere to live? For just a moment, I felt the flicker of the old guilt. The old urge to swoop in and fix everything for them. But then I remembered Emma posting Instagram stories from her Aspen spa day, captioned "Living my best life," sparkles emoji, while she was literally spending my stolen money. You'll figure it out, Mom. Adults usually do. That's cruel, Sarah. What's cruel is stealing $35,000 from your daughter and laughing about it. She hung up. The thing is, I know they'll find somewhere to live. They'll just have to adjust their expectations, maybe move farther from downtown, maybe accept that they can't afford the lifestyle they want. Join the club. Emma, on the other hand, is having a complete meltdown. She's been posting dramatic stories on social media about toxic family members and cutting out negative energy, but she's also been desperately texting her friends asking if she can crash on their couches temporarily. Her best friend Melissa, who went on the Aspen trip with her, apparently told her she could stay for maybe a week, but then you need to figure something out. Turns out even Emma's wealthy friends aren't interested in supporting her indefinitely. Emma called me crying 2 days ago. Sarah, Melissa says I can't stay at her place anymore. Her parents don't want a permanent house guest. And I can't afford any of the apartments I've looked at. The cheap ones are disgusting, and the nice ones won't approve me. Have you considered getting a better job? I'm trying. But nobody wants to hire me for anything that pays well. They all want experience, and I don't have experience because nobody will hire me. It's the classic catch-22 that every young adult faces, except Emma is facing it at 24 instead of 18 because she's been sheltered from real life for so long. Emma, you're going to have to start somewhere. Take a job, any job that's full-time. Work for a year, prove you're reliable, then look for something better. But those jobs are awful. Working at Target, or in food service, or answering phones all day. That's not what I want to do with my life. What you want and what you can afford are 2 different things. I went to college. I shouldn't have to work retail. You went to college for 2 years and dropped out. And even if you graduated, nobody owes you a career just because you have a degree. She was quiet for a moment. Sarah, what if I promised to pay you back the $35,000? Like, really promised this time. What if I got it in writing? With what money, Emma? How exactly would you pay me back? I could start an OnlyFans or something. Some girls make really good money doing that. I was so shocked I almost dropped the phone. Emma, are you serious right now? What? It's legitimate work. And I'm pretty, I could probably do well. You want to become a sex worker to pay me back money you stole for a vacation? It's not sex work, it's just photos. And it's better than working at McDonald's. This is what my family had come to. My sister was considering selling nude photos online rather than getting a normal job like a normal person. Emma, listen to me very carefully. The problem isn't that you don't have money. The problem is that you've never learned the value of work, or sacrifice, or delayed gratification. Starting an OnlyFans isn't going to teach you any of those things. So what am I supposed to do? Get a job. Any job. Work 40 hours a week. Live within your means. Learn to budget. Learn to save. Learn what it means to earn something instead of having it given to you. Easy for you to say. You've always been good at that stuff. I've always had to be good at that stuff. Nobody was bankrolling my lifestyle while I figured myself out. After I hung up, I realized something. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just tired. Tired of these conversations, tired of their problems, tired of being expected to have solutions for people who refuse to take responsibility for themselves. The real estate market has been even better than expected. We've had 6 showings in the first 3 days, and my realtor says she expects multiple offers by the weekend. The house is in perfect condition. I've been maintaining it meticulously for 2 years, fixing things before they broke, keeping the landscaping immaculate. It shows beautifully. Dad came by yesterday while I was there meeting with a potential buyer. I was standing in the kitchen I'd renovated last year, watching the buyers discuss the granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, when he walked in. Sarah, we need to talk. The buyers looked uncomfortable, so I stepped outside with him. Dad, I'm working right now. This is important. Emma can't find anywhere to live. Your mother is having panic attacks about the move. This whole situation is getting out of hand. The situation got out of hand when you stole from me. For God's sake, Sarah, we're not criminals. We're your family. We made a mistake, yes, but you're acting like we're strangers who mugged you on the street. Strangers who mugged me would face criminal charges. You're getting off easy with just losing your free housing. His face was getting red. Free housing? We raised you in that house. We gave you a home, fed you, clothed you, sent you to school. That house is as much ours as yours. Actually, it's not. It's legally mine. I have the deed. You know what I mean. I do know what you mean. You mean that because you were my parents, you think you're entitled to my money forever. You think that raising me, which was your legal obligation, means I owe you financial support for life. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? He struggled for a moment. I'm saying that families should stick together. That we should work things out. That throwing us out on the street over money is wrong. You're not on the street. You're adults with income looking for housing you can afford. That's called life. Sarah, please. Your mother is falling apart. She can't sleep, she can't eat. The stress is making her sick. For a moment, the old guilt crept in. Mom had always been anxious, and stress did make her physically ill. But then I remembered her laughter on the phone when Dad said I'd earn the money back. She should have thought about that before she laughed about robbing me. She wasn't laughing about that. She was nervous. You know how your mother gets when she's uncomfortable. Dad, I was there. I heard her laugh. And even if she was nervous, the appropriate response would have been to apologize and offer to make it right. Instead, you told me I'd earn it back, she laughed, and you both acted like I was being unreasonable for being upset about credit card fraud. The buyers came out of the house, and Dad stepped aside while they talked to my realtor. I could see them nodding enthusiastically about something. After they left, Dad tried one more time. Sarah, what's it going to take? What do you want from us? I want my $35,000. We don't have $35,000. Then I guess we don't have anything to talk about. What if we do a payment plan? What if Emma gets a full-time job and pays you back $100 a month? That's $1,200 a year. In 30 years, Dad, stop. Just stop. Emma is 24 years old. In 30 years, she'll be 54. Do you really think it's reasonable for me to finance her lifestyle for the next 3 decades? It's not financing her lifestyle. It's helping family. It's the same thing. And I'm done with it. He stared at me for a long moment. I don't even recognize you anymore. The Sarah I raised would never do something this cruel. The Sarah you raised spent 20 years being a doormat. This is the Sarah who finally learned to say no. That evening, my realtor called with good news. We had received 3 offers, all above asking price. The highest was $425,000, $25,000 more than I'd expected. I accepted it immediately. Yesterday, Dad called me one more time. Sarah, I need you to understand something. Your mother and I are too old to start over like this. We're in our 50s. We can't just rebuild our lives from scratch. You should have thought about that before you stole from me. We made a mistake, okay? We admit that. But the punishment doesn't fit the crime. You're destroying our lives over $35,000. I'm not destroying your lives. I'm selling my house and keeping the money, just like you spent my money and kept Emma's vacation. It's not the same thing. You keep saying that, but you never explain how it's different. There was a long pause. Sarah, what do you want? What will it take to fix this? I want my $35,000 back. We've been through this. We don't have it. Then we have nothing to discuss. What if? What if Emma pays you back over time, and we promise things will be different? Dad, Emma spent $35,000 in 4 days. Her current job pays about $15,000 a year part-time. Do you see the problem with your suggestion? Another pause. What if we sign some kind of contract? Legal papers that guarantee she'll pay you back? With what money? She'd have to get a job that pays at least $60,000 a year just to live independently and make reasonable payments to me. She's never worked full-time, doesn't have a degree, and has no professional skills. What makes you think she can suddenly start making that kind of money? She's smart, she's capable. Being smart and capable doesn't matter if you've never proven it. Emma has coasted her entire adult life. No employer is going to pay her $60,000 based on potential. So that's it? You've just decided to destroy our family? I didn't destroy anything, Dad. You destroyed it when you decided I existed to fund Emma's lifestyle. You destroyed it when you chose to steal from me instead of expecting her to take responsibility for herself. You destroyed it when Mom laughed about robbing me blind. He hung up on me. I've been thinking a lot about that conversation, and about the messages I've been getting from family members. They want me to forgive and forget, to let bygones be bygones, to be the bigger person. But here's what none of them understand. I tried being the bigger person for 20 years. I tried being generous, understanding, and supportive. I tried believing that families should help each other, that love means sacrifice, that being successful meant I should lift others up. Where did it get me? Stolen from and laughed at. You know what's interesting? In all the phone calls, text messages, and family drama of the past 3 days, not one person has said what they should have said first: what your parents did was wrong. Not one person has acknowledged that stealing $35,000 from me was unacceptable, regardless of a family relationship. Instead, I'm getting lectured about forgiveness, about being vindictive, about how I'm tearing the family apart over money. Well, they're right about one thing: I'm tearing the family apart. But I'm not doing it over money. I'm doing it because they showed me exactly where I stand in their priorities, and it's not where a daughter and sister should stand. Emma called me this morning, crying again. Sarah, I found an apartment I can afford, but they want first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit. That's like $3,000. I don't have that. What do you want me to say, Emma? I was hoping you might help me one more time. I actually laughed. Emma, you literally just finished stealing $35,000 from me, and now you want me to give you $3,000 more? It's not giving, it's a loan. I'll pay you back. Like you're paying back the $35,000? That's different. How is it different? She couldn't answer. Emma, here's some free advice: get a full-time job. Any full-time job. Work 40 hours a week like a normal adult. Save your money instead of spending it on luxuries you can't afford. Learn to live within your means. And maybe, in a few years, you'll understand why what you did to me was so wrong. Sarah, please. I'm scared. I don't know how to do this by myself. Then it's time you learned. You're 22 years old, most people figure this stuff out by 18. I hung up. Tonight, I'm sitting in my condo, looking at the accepted offer that came in on the house. After a bidding war between 3 interested buyers, the final accepted offer was $418,000, $18,000 more than I'd expected. My parents and Emma will be out in 4 weeks. They'll figure something out, they'll have to. Maybe this will be the wake-up call Emma needs to finally grow up. Maybe my parents will realize that treating their children like ATMs has consequences. Or maybe they'll spend the rest of their lives telling everyone who will listen about how cruel and vindictive I am. I don't really care anymore. You know what I'm going to do with the $400,000 I'll clear after all expenses? I'm going to buy myself a really nice house. Not a starter home, not something practical and modest, a beautiful house with a big kitchen and a great view and enough space for the life I want to build. And when Emma calls me crying about her problems, or my parents need money for some emergency, or extended family members lecture me about forgiveness, I'm going to sit in my beautiful house that I bought with my own money and remember that I taught them an important lesson. Don't steal from the person who owns your house. The closing is set for next month. By then, this whole chapter of my life will be over. My parents will be living somewhere they can actually afford, Emma will be learning what independence actually costs, and I'll be free from 20 years of being the family bank. Some people might think I went too far. Some people might think families should forgive anything. But those people weren't stolen from and laughed at by the people who were supposed to love them most. I just nodded when they stole from me. 3 days later, I sold their house. And I'd do it again.